Everyone's having a good day so far and appreciate everyone for setting in on this webinar. I am Hideyuki Terashima, and I'm a environmental geologist with the Illinois State Water Survey, which is located at the University of Illinois. I've been working on the wateropera.org program since 2014 and currently oversee the day-to-day, which involves ensuring that most up-to-date information and resources are showcased on our website, and occasionally doing these webinars where we highlight some of the resources that we have gathered in the past. So during this presentation, I'll be introducing to you what exactly the wateropera.org program is, how it's a useful program that aims to help and help and assist water and wastewater professionals around the country to help them maintain compliance and enhance public health, while focusing on today's topic, which is community engagement for wastewater utilities. So before I start, I wanted to quickly go over some housekeeping stuff. This webinar will be presented on the GoToWebinar platform. For those that have not used GoToWebinar before, you should see a console similar to what I have shown on the slide. There's a question section where you'll be able to submit any questions you might have throughout the webinar, which we will review at the end. But you can just go ahead and type in the chat and don't hesitate to ask any questions throughout the webinar. We have someone that it will be, Caitlin is here moderating and will be making sure that all your questions are recorded. The webinar will also be recorded video-wise and will be uploaded to our wateropera.org YouTube channel once the webinar is over. The webinar has been pre-approved to provide 1.5 credit hours or wastewater hours for Illinois licensed wastewater operators. But for those of you who are from other states, we will be more than happy to offer you a certificate of attendance or help you complete any forms required by your certification body if you'd like to submit something for this webinar. I believe the webinar registration form asks whether you will be requiring your certificate or not, but if you are interested and didn't indicate so during the registration process, please send us an email at info@wateropera.org requesting a certificate of attendance with the name of this webinar attached somewhere in your email. So something like community engagement webinar, just so that we know which certificate to issue and we can keep track of all the information. Additionally, I do want to mention that we won't be able to provide any certificates for watching the course. Once we have it uploaded to YouTube channel, we can only issue it for attending the actual live session. So this will be the outline for today's presentation. I'll start off by introducing to you what kind of website or program wateropera.org is and outline the types of resources or information operators can find through the tools our website offers to either further their knowledge on wastewater and water management or to improve compliance. I've done similar presentations in the past, but we always focus on a specific topic and highlight the resources related to that topic. So for this presentation, I'll focus more on highlighting resources related to community engagement, public outreach, whatever you want to call it, and how utilities can improve or implement a program of like a public engagement program or initiative. And especially with increasing regulations, rising costs, and growing community expectations, wastewater utilities are required more than ever to engage with their community. So by being transparent about the work that you guys do and wastewater operators do, they can help build trust and show their residents exactly how their rates are being invested in protecting their public health as well as their infrastructure and eventually the environment as well. But a strong engagement program like these can highlight the value of wastewater operators as well as the workforce. Those are the guys that are often behind the scenes, but they don't really get the recognitions. Having a good community engagement program can really highlight those operators as well. And when the public really understands like the complexity and importance of the work that you're doing or the operators are doing, they're more likely to support investments in infrastructure and innovation. So I wanted to focus on community engagement as a topic and include information and highlight resources that can help communities or wastewater utilities improve or strengthen their current community engagement practices. Once that's done, I'll go ahead and highlight examples of what kind of publicly available resources are out there, especially developed by various organizations, and how you can find these resources, as well as similar resources through our website. Then finally, I'll briefly discuss some of the other features that you can find on our site, which might be some relevant information like some of our self-paced classes that does offer CEUs for some states. So what exactly is wateropera.org? As you can tell by the name, it is a website which we developed at the U of I in collaboration with the Rural Rural Community Assisted Partnership, RCAP, with funding from US EPA. It serves as a clearinghouse of publicly available information or resources to help water and wastewater system operators with a focus on small systems. We basically have a team of staff that search and scour the internet to find and collect any kind of publicly available information or resource that would be useful to operators, and we provide a means to find that information easier through our website. So, rather than having to go through pages of search results on Google, we made a platform to search for relevant resources easier to save you time. And you might also have experience in the past, but if you find a useful resource through Google, you might find out that it's actually behind a paywall or require memberships to that organization or that website to access that specific resource. A lot of resources from bigger organizations like AWWA or WEF are kind of like this. They charge a lot of money for some of their manuals. A lot of their documents or publications you want to access, you do need to be a member to be able to access, and even then you might even have to pay a couple $100s to be able to access. Everything you can find on our website is public available information. There's no fee or registration required to use or access our website, and majority of the resources, or I should say majority, all of our resources that we feature also are like that, where you shouldn't be required to have to register or pay to access any of the information that we're making it easier for you to find. Additionally, if operators do have trouble finding certain information, they can always call us, email us, and we'll try to help them find that specific information, or we'll try to connect you with with people that have a little bit more knowledge that could actually answer some of your questions, like the RCAP tabs that we partner with a lot. So how do we find these resources, and what exactly do we look for? So we have a database of around, I actually want to say 1,000 organizations, national organizations like APA, AWWA, WEF, as well as individual state agencies, regional associations like WAs, AWWAs, and even vendors. Each of our staff visits their websites and looks for any kind of information on training events, like operator trainings, webinars, conferences, pretty much any kind of event that offers CUs for operators or continuing education credits for operators. We catalog that information. Even if it doesn't offer credits, if it's a free event, like a lot of EPA and EFC webinars, and they're useful for or relevant for operators, we'll also collect that information. We also look for any kind of publicly available resource like fact sheets, reports, manuals, past conference presentations, even webinar recordings, any kind of, again, technical resource that can be helpful for operators, especially with a focus on small systems. We try to find and focus on those. We have been searching and collecting these resources since 2009, and we currently have a database of over 50,000 documents, again, all publicly accessible documents, and we catalog around 11 to 12,000 training events every year. So this website was actually first called smallwatersupply.org. We actually rebranded to wateroperator.org around 2016. We originally designed this website to help our operators in Illinois, especially in the rural communities where they might not have had the time to search for technical information, or maybe they didn't even have internet infrastructure to be able to search for online resources. So we want to develop a website where operators can easily search for what information is available online, give them a short summary of how this specific fact sheet or manual will be relevant for them, or the specific training event, how it could help them maintain their CUs, or how it's educational for them. And we wanted to make it easier for operators to find that information. And we've been doing it since 2009. We have a decent amount of reputation within a lot of the different states around the country. For example, state of Washington, they used to have their own website where they hosted trainings, but once they saw our program, they realized they didn't actually need one. They can just refer their operators to us. So we do have that reputation. Excuse me. And yeah, we do like to work with a lot of state agencies as well. So after we collect the information, what exactly do we do with it? So like I mentioned very briefly, we do provide a short summary of the documents that we find, the training events that we find. We try to highlight all the relevant information, like for trainings, where the training takes place, how much it costs, how many CUs it offers, which states it's approved in, as well as like the links to go register. And same for the document side, we'll try to give you a brief summary of why this fact sheet or manual would be relevant for operators, and kind of help them decide whether that's something that they actually want to download or actually utilize. In the past, we've heard from a lot of operators that they've found that our nationwide calendar tool to be an excellent tool to find events that they never knew existed. And we've gotten calls and emails from operators saying like, hey, I need to get X number of credits by the end of the month. Can you help me find trainings or online courses that they can take from their office? And we'll try to help them find the information. And we've even had various vendors reach out to us asking us to like add any training material from them, or any kind of like documentation that they developed. And we do actually go through the vetting process of making sure that a training that we add has offers to use. They can't just be like some sort of advertisement for vendors. Same for the document side. If they develop a white paper, it has to be actually relevant for operators. It can't just be like an ad for their newest product. So we do actually go through that process, and we make sure that the resources you can find on our website are actually relevant for operators. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we do deal with a wide range of topics, and every resource that we do add is tagged with a specific category, which gets integrated to our search engine. And here's just a list of the categories or filters that we use to categorize those training events and documents, just to give you an idea of what kind of information you can find on our website. I'm also a big fan of making graphics, so I really wanted to include something visual on the slide. And this chart just basically shows the breakdown of the categories of topics that we've entered from the around 12,000 events that we entered during 2024. And again, the chart just really highlights how many of the events we add are more focused on operation and maintenance, water wastewater treatment, certification, distribution system, safety. But I did want to mention that since this webinar is focused on community engagement, we do have two categories that are kind of related to that term or that theme, which is consumer information and public notification. So consumer information is anything that any kind of material that would be used to teach your customers, residents, communities about water wastewater operations or any kind of other topics related that you would want to share with your community. And public notification is obviously, or I don't say obviously, but of course related to like on the water side, if there's like a boil order notice, that's like a public notification requirement. On the wastewater side, it might be if there's an overflow, you might want to notify that to your public. You can find guidance or related information using this category. But there, on the event side, there really aren't that many trainings related to public notification or consumer information or community engagement. We do see them from time to time, just 1.4% total of the events we entered from 2024, but they are available, and I will be highlighting some of that later in this presentation. During this presentation, again, I'll be highlighting a variety of public available resources that focus on community engagement for wastewater utilities. The majority of these resources address strategies for engaging the public in stormwater and source control programs, involving residents in conversations around increasing or rate setting and capital or planning capital improvement projects. Educating communities on topics like biosolids land application, as well as water reuse. And using tools like social media or reaching out to the media to strengthen public relations and to help build trust with your community. Many of these resources do come from organizations like EPA, which has developed extensive guidance on public engagement for utility operations. WEF, the Water Environment Federation, is also another organization that we've found a decent amount of these outreach resources. They're more of a technical education organization that supports wastewater professionals. They also provide resources to help utilities communicate effectively with their communities and supports wastewater utilities in highlighting the crucial work that they do for their community. The Environmental Finance Center Network, EFCN, also offers trainings, like a lot of webinars, and they do offer tools to help utilities engage with the public in topics like financial planning. And RCAP, the Rural Community Assistance Partnership, they also provide a lot of hands-on support for small rural systems. They do a lot of outreach tailored to their local needs, and a lot of their technical assistant providers do the groundwork and work closely with those communities. And state agencies, they obviously develop their own community engagement programs specific to their state, as well as resources that are more geared towards their state's operators or their state's utilities. And there are a decent amount of information available from state agencies as well. So starting off, let's go ahead and define what we're focusing on today, which is, what exactly is community engagement? It's often referred to as public outreach as well, but it is the process of bringing, residents or community members into conversations about how their utilities and municipalities make decisions. So it's not just about telling community what's happening what's going on, what kind of work the utility is doing. But it's about creating this two-way communication or dialogue where you want to make sure the community is being heard, and you want to make sure that their input is actively being reflected in the decision-making process. So for wastewater and water utilities, this is especially important as decisions about capital planning, infrastructure upgrades, or rate adjustments does directly affect the people that that the utilities serve. So by engaging communities early on, utilities can explain the challenges that they face. It can help maintain transparency with the work the utility is doing, why their rates are going up, and communicating or engaging with community does help you gather valuable feedback, which can again guide utilities in the way that they do projects, and it also helps build support for solutions that benefit their community. So like projects that would actually benefit their community. Again, being transparent helps them understand how it'll help their community, how the increase in rates would benefit their community, and just making sure you're engaging with your community and educate them is very crucial to make sure you get their support. And when the residents do see that their voices are being heard, they understand that their voices matter, then they're more likely to support projects because they actually understand the reasoning behind the benefits of those projects. And this can turn community members into from passive customers into active partners in shaping the future of their community's water system, water infrastructure. This is also especially crucial as aging infrastructure is continuing to be a huge issue for a lot of utilities or municipalities in general, and adoption of innovative technologies is becoming more relevant to address these emerging contaminants that are like microplastics, PFAS, that we're hearing a lot today, and it eventually is going to be an issue probably in the future. And these are very expensive issues that utilities are being challenged with. Depending on whether they need new treatment technologies that can significantly increase costs, which might in turn reflect to the customers. But if the customers understand the issues with these emerging contaminants, or the issues with aging infrastructure, you'll have a better chance of getting their support with implementing these new projects. And with effective community engagement, utilities can strengthen collaborations with the community as well as stakeholders. Again, it helps build trust, and you'll gain the public trust as well as the support in needing to move these important projects, infrastructure projects, initiatives forward. So what are some of the benefits of implementing a community outreach program? And this is a huge list, but just going through them, specifically, this is listed specifically for what are the benefits for the utilities. But first is, engagement builds public trust and support. I'm going to be repeating this from time to time, a lot of time throughout this webinar because that's like the main benefit of community engagement. But, when residents understand the true cost of service and the infrastructure needs behind them, they become informed community allies. And that trust is critical when utilities do need community backing for, again, rate adjustments or major capital improvement projects. Second, it does improve operational efficiency. So public education campaigns like teaching residents, not to pour fats, oils, or grease down their drain, or avoid flushing certain wipes that aren't degradable, can dramatically reduce clogs, which in turn can reduce lift station maintenance and reduce sewer overflows. So outreach can act as a preventive maintenance strategy. Utilities may also be required to provide community outreach if they have, an MS4 stormwater permit, or if they have pre-treatment programs under the Clean Water Act, which would again help meet or enhance regulatory compliance if they're engaging in that public education requirements or the community engagement requires under those permits. When the public values and recognizes the essential work that utility staff does, it also boosts their pride in the work they do, which can lead to improved staff retention. If an operator is actually recognized the work that they do, and the community is actually valuing the work that they do, you'll probably have happier operators, more dedicated operators that understand the value of the work that they do. And outreach also helps attract the future workforce by highlighting wastewater careers as an essential and rewarding community-focused job. Utility can inspire the next generation of operators and engineers. If there's younger guys in your communities, if you're actually actively engaging with them, telling them about the water and wastewater field, you'll probably have a better chance of them staying within their community, actually joining the utility workforce, and help maintain and improve your community. And finally, engagement does strengthen emergency preparedness as well. If the public is informed and aware of the utility, of the work they do, they're more likely to cooperate and respond effectively during service disruptions or like emergencies, um, like floods, or if there's a sewer backup, because they'll know who to go to, they'll know who to trust, and they can get guidance from the utilities easily without having to go and reducing the panic of people going online and searching like, oh, I have a sewer backup. What am I supposed to do? And panic. They'll know that the utility is where they'll have to go to get the information. So all these benefits can lead to improved operations, even compliance, and again helps with workforce development and long-term resilience for utilities. So there are definitely benefits for utilities for having an actual community outreach program. Similarly, there are benefits for the community themselves. So, by actively engaging with your community, it does help demystify the process. So, if residents do see the sewer work being done near them, they'll wonder, what exactly is happening and why this work is being done. Why are you guys tearing up the streets? Why is there water coming out of the ground? Outreach provides the clear answers. It helps residents understand that, this is how wastewater works. There's a sewer system underground, and it's leaking, it's deteriorating. That's why we're digging it up, and that's why we're replacing it. It helps reduce, overflow. It helps reduce wastewater discharge. Again, benefiting the community. So once the community understands like the work that you're doing, if you're being transparent with them, it does again help them understand the process and build. I like to use the term ally, but it helps build allies within your community. Community engagement can also empower behavior change. So by giving residents, clear actionable steps like, again, not flushing fog or medication down your drain, utilities can help to protect public health, infrastructure, as well as the environment. So small changes in these daily habits can, help educate the residents themselves, which can in turn have a decent impact on your system performance as well. Engagement can also improve public health. So proper disposal of household hazardous waste and pharmaceuticals helps prevent those contaminants from getting into our local water bodies and potentially contaminating our source water, especially during storm events where contaminants are more likely to spread due to flood events. So as long as community members know that they're not supposed to be doing or flushing or discarding these kind of contaminants, potential or hazardous contaminants down the drain, they will know that they're actually protecting their local water bodies as well. Community engagement also increases transparency. So when utilities share information openly, the community will become, or the community will understand that the utility is the go-to source for reliable wastewater information. So and that again, building this trust can help strengthen the relationship between the utility and the community. Effective engagement can also foster equity and inclusion. So this ensures that all voices are heard, especially in more underserved areas, and helps utilities to prioritize projects, work with those underserved communities, and design projects that are actually, helping them as well, making sure those voices are being included in your community planning, and making sure that or all community members are, again, their voices are heard, and that the utilities are actually doing projects that are helping or benefiting all those community members. And finally, engagement does offer or does strengthen resilience as well. So an informed and engaged community is better prepared to, again, respond to emergencies. If there's an issue, they know who to go to, they know how to reach out to the utilities and actually get guidance from them. And especially, if there's infrastructure upgrade as well, if you have an informed community, they'll more likely to work with you and support your projects, which again, in turn, helps build resilience as well. So for community engagement isn't just about information. It does turn residents into true partners in protecting public health and helps shape the future of your utility. So it is definitely important to make sure you have an engaged community and that they're actually actively in the planning process for, again, wastewater projects. So how can we visualize how these community engagement efforts, if they have any kind of impact? So this slide highlights the results from the Metropolitan Washington Council of Governments annual community engagement survey. So each year, they actually ask their residents across the region about their knowledge, attitudes, behaviors related to water and wastewater services. So it's a great example of how constant outreach and education can shift public perception and behavior over time. They've conducted a survey from 2019 to 2023. I'm not sure if they're still doing it, but they do have all their annual reports, and they highlight how they have seen progress in how residents perceive, um, for example, what not to flush, which is on the table to the very left. It shows how the perceived safety of flushing items over time has significantly dropped. So like for flushable wipes, you can tell that it used to be higher, but then it starts to decrease. Same for cooking grease, medication, paper towel. You can see that there's a decline from 2021 to 2023, which means that their community engagement campaigns are working. Their residents are actually understanding that these aren't stuff that they should be flushing down. And I know that the 2020 has a smaller number. I think that's just because that was the first time they started doing this survey, and they probably just didn't get enough responses. So it does show that active communication is helping with those disposal efforts. Same for the perceived safety of disposing outdoor materials. This kind of shows you how the residents see what they perceive as safe and what they don't see as safe. So like for salt, obviously the residents don't necessarily see as an issue, but for like stuff like pet waste, fertilizer, comparing the previous reports, we do see a more increase in like people seeing that these are actual threats. Hopefully salt becomes something that people care about more as well, since we do see a lot of road salt going into the groundwater, affecting the water quality as well. And the one that I found interesting the most is this percentage of respondents who say they have no trust in social media. So this is an alarming trend. We do see that at least with this community, there is a huge increase in people distrusting social media. So this might be an area where the utility might want to, or the utility might want to work to improve their social media presence so that the residents are trusting at least content coming out of the utilities themselves to be a more trustworthy source of information. So I just found that doing surveys like this can help you actually visualize or quantify whether certain community engagement programs are being effective or not. And I do have a link on the very bottom that takes you to their page of their reports. Each of their reports do have a template of this survey that they use as well. So if you're interested in conducting a survey like this, definitely check theirs out. You can reference their work and try to create your own survey that works within your community. So let's take a closer look at the benefits again, or the impacts community engagement can have on wastewater operations. So first, focusing on source control. Campaigns like Seize the Grease, Don't Flush That campaigns target both households and commercial kitchens, or commercial or industries as well within your community, and reminding people that fats, oils, and grease shouldn't go down the drain. It can have a huge impact within protecting your sewer infrastructure. Similar outreach around the 3 Ps, so like the pee, poop, and paper, helps reduce flushing of wipes, paper towels, and other personal care hygiene products that can cause sewer backups and potentially overflow. And by promoting proper disposal of medication and household hazardous waste through programs like take back days, medication take back days, utilities can keep those harmful substances out of their sewer system, and again help protect water quality. Second, inflow and infiltration, or I&I. So community engagement does help homeowners to better understand how their sump pump works, how their downspouts contribute to excess water flows when it's connected to sewer system, and why this connection is important. So actively teaching them about inflow and our I&I issue, making sure homeowners are aware of whether they have a sump pump, where their sump pump is, whether it's connected to a sewer system or not, can help reduce wet weather flow. It also educates residents about their responsibility of maintaining their own storm sewer systems, as well as the community storm sewer systems, and it can help promote programs like Adopt a Drain, or encouraging people to actively actively report blockages if they do see that within their communities. These efforts not only protect water quality, but also helps communities to prepare for heavy rainfall events or climate-related challenges that can have an impact on stormwater infrastructure. And third, emergency response. When there's a main break or there's a basement backup, clear communication is critical. Community engagement builds that trust needed so that when utilities issue notices or guidance, residents do listen and act quickly, and make sure that you're the trusted source. That trust can make all the difference in minimizing health issues, helps reduce panic within the communities, and again, can improve the speed of restoring service if you have a community that's actively trying to work with you. Community engagement can also improve resource recovery efforts like biosolids management, as well as water reuse, where negative public perception can significantly impact these programs. So for first, biosolids management and application, the key message here is that biosolids are a safe, tested soil amendment. Public education is critical. Residents need to understand that biosolids are regulated under rigorous standards like EPA's 503 rules, which make sure that biosolids are safe, and their quality is the quality is safe for plant application or disposal. By showcasing that testing, the rigorous testing, as well as the oversight, utilities can help educate their community about why they're doing this, how biosolids is actually safe, and it reduces that yuck factor and environmental concerns of repurposing treated wastewater solids. It's also important to highlight the benefits. So for farmers, biosolids provide a local, cost-effective source of nutrients and organic matter. For the environment, they enrich soils. It reduces rely on synthetic fertilizers. It helps keep valuable materials out of the landfills. And by building partnerships with local farms, university extensions, conservation districts, utilities can create advocates who can help share these benefits with the broader community, and again, helps you develop partners that will support you in these kind of efforts. Second, water reuse. So this is more of a big system issue since not a lot of small systems have water reuse systems or water reuse facilities, but this is another area where, again, the yuck factor of recycling treated wastewater can be a barrier for these type of projects. The key message is, water is too valuable to use just once. Using clear, simple graphics to explain the advanced treatment process of that what these water reuse facilities use can help reassure residents about the effectiveness of water reuse, emphasizing that water is highly treated, thoroughly tested, and safe for intended use or consumption, or indirect potable reuse or direct potable reuse can help build confidence within your community. And sharing success stories from other communities or even projects within your state can help normalize reuse and shows that it's actually being utilized in the country, around the world. It's working safely and effective to recycle wastewater. So these efforts do demonstrate how engagement can turn these potential projects that can be shut down due to skepticism into support, turning that skepticism into support. Now let's see how community engagement can help or strengthen community relationships and long-term planning. So first, let's talk about the value of water and the operators who maintain our water and wastewater infrastructure. So water is essential to every aspect of daily life, yet it's often taken for granted by a lot of people. Wastewater professionals are, they're highly trained, they're deeply committed and often working around the clock to protect public health and environment. But a lot of the community members, they don't really know who their operators are, or again, what exactly they do. So through efforts like like a day in a life article, or operator spotlights, utilities can highlight the essential work that these operators, that your staff are performing, whether it's keeping the rivers clean, reducing overflows, helping reduce odors around certain areas that's reported a lot of odor issues, as well as protecting wildlife by improving water quality. So residents can continue to fish at their local favorite spot or enjoy recreational activities. So highlighting those kind of benefits that the wastewater operators are helping to promote can again showcase the operators, and helps build trust and stronger relationships within the community members and operators or the utility staff themselves. Second, workforce development. So community engagement can be a powerful tool to build the next generation of clean water professionals by reaching out to schools, trade programs, going to job fairs. Utilities can spark interest in clean careers in the water and wastewater field, and it can help going to events like these, reaching out to students. It can help recruit those younger professionals from the very communities that they actually are from. So this not only strengthens local hiring, but also builds pride and ownership with the utilities themselves. And third, environmental justice. So engagement has to be inclusive. This means that utilities should be going beyond compliance to ensure equitable access to information and services. Utilities can build trust by offering, translated material like Spanish material, which can, which might not, which a lot of like there are a lot of communities that speak different languages that might not necessarily have access to the same information that other affluent communities might have. So again, um, providing these kind of materials like Spanish translated materials, targeting outreach to these more disadvantaged communities, and working together, developing like a dedicated liaison for those underserved communities can really help build trust and help fill the gaps that might have existed in the past between those communities and the utilities, and make sure that all voices are heard, and helps again improve decision making as well as planning by having these communities that you might have not had their opinions before now being included in the planning process. So ultimately, community engagement isn't just about communication. Again, it's about building that meaningful connection, fostering trust, working with your community, and trying to make sure that there's long-term planning in place to make sure that projects are continue to be funded, making sure that there's actual young professionals are getting into the field, and making sure that again all community members' voices are being heard. Now that we've covered some of the broader benefits of community engagement and wastewater management, I did want to highlight that there are a lot of information and practical guidance out there. Just Googling, community engagement guide, you'll find a plethora of articles like this. Various water and wastewater organizations, have published articles about, best practices. They've also have a lot of guidance material that will show up, if you Google it. Everything from how to communicate effectively with different audiences to like step-by-step outreach strategies, and even case studies or like examples of successful engagement programs. Exploring these can help utilities tailor their own approach and build stronger, more informed relationship with their communities that they serve. But I just wanted to mention that there are a lot of easily accessible information out there, but I'll be listing more specific resources later in this presentation. But there are again information out there to help utilities again build that long-term trust, benefits of highlighting the benefits of a successful communication program. So let's go ahead and look at the common strategies that are often used by utilities for community engagement. So the first column I have listed here is traditional or passive outreach, which focuses on one-way communication. This is where utilities share information without actively seeking public input. So this is a great way to raise just general awareness. You can use bill inserts and mailers to provide quick updates on rates, conservation tips, or upcoming events, which can city hall events where you're going to be talking about the next capital improvement project. Information like this can be easily distributed through that format. Flyers and brochures placed in libraries or community centers can help where community or distributing them in locations where community members regularly meet together can help spread this message as well. Press releases and local media stories can also share project updates or any kind of emergency information in a timely manner. Educational signs like "Don't flush wipe" posters in restrooms or fog posters in restaurants can again provide constant reminders about best practices of not dumping those down the drain. And annual reports or public service announcements can also inform residents about the utilities' accomplishments, how their work is impacting the community, and again, the benefits of the work they do. So this can really improve transparency and help raise awareness with community members on how they can help. The second column I have here highlights digital or interactive outreach, which focuses on like two-way communication. So creating an ongoing channel or communication platform where residents can both receive information and actively engage with the utilities. So utility websites can serve as a central hub where it can offer easy to access information like on billing, service updates, capital project details, and community resources. Like a community member, if they're looking for that kind of information, they'll know the first place to go to is your website. Having all the information easily accessible on your website, again, really makes it easier for community members to find information easier. Social media platforms also helps build transparency and trust by sharing quick updates, spotlighting utility staff and posting tips on how residents can protect their sewer system. Um, Social media is a great way to engage with their customers. A lot of people, can post on their social media. They can tag utility about, they have questions. You should be actively looking at your social media posts. If there are posts like that is asking a question, a utility should actively engage with them because, that's where a lot of communications do happen these days. It's a lot is happening through social media platforms. Additionally, publicly facing interactive GIS maps can also allow residents to explore, find out more information, explore service areas, view project timelines, and if you have an ArcGIS or like an ArcGIS map where you have like a map of the community, if there are areas where community members can at a point and say like, here, this is I found a leak earlier today. Having that kind of platform can also, again, improve that communication, helping the residents actually provide input as well as share, help help the utilities themselves find and locate these kind of issues, like locations of sewer backups or like if there's are overflows detected somewhere within your community. Electronic newsletters or even physical newsletters and online surveys can also help keep residents informed about, while providing opportunities for feedback or on utility programs and priorities. So like newsletters, they're great. They can easily be distributed to your community members, and even physical ones you can have in place within like libraries or, again, community centers. It highlights what's going on, highlights updates as well. But again, same with surveys, that can give you opportunities for your community members to actually engage and provide feedback to some of the work that you're doing, that utilities are doing, as well as help them voice some of their concerns. And even short videos or virtual tours can visually explain the treatment processes. It can highlight project benefits, and it can showcase operators in actions, making utility operations more relatable and engaging for the public. And even physical tours that would help actually community members to actually come in, engage with the utility staff, and again, help ask questions, help build that connection. So like if you're going to be doing that in-person tour, that'll be considered in-person engagement. So this is another effective way to build trust through face-to-face activities that highlight the utility as well as the operators that serve the community. So again, the very top one, plant tours. That's a great one where it's a very effective outreach method. A lot of utilities across the country do tours. It helps to offer transparency and give residents, again, firsthand look at how their wastewater is being treated and managed locally, how well it's being treated and where exactly it's being discharged once it's treated. So again, it helps build that transparency and helps get residents understand where their wastewater comes from and where it goes, and how well it's treated. School presentations can also help engage students early. So it also helps turn them into future clean water advocates. Educating students about how the wastewater utility is protecting the earth, or how they can help protect the earth as well, can be really engaging. And if students are really into science, there's a lot of projects that utilities can work with students to help guide them into, again, helping them become a clean water advocate. Utilities highlighting their work at, again, community events like state fairs or farmers markets can also help provide visibility that allow for interested residents to ask questions in person or engage in informal conversations. Workshops like, again, C's degree STEBOs, showing them what not to flush, or talking to your community about some of these green water or green infrastructure that can help reduce stormwater flow, like rain barrels, how to build one, how to install one, can offer hands-on learning and practical tips to community members. Also, programs like Citizens Water Academies, they kind of go deeper than these one-off workshops. These are more week-long or longer programs designed to educate local leaders and decision makers over several weeks about how their local wastewater systems works, which can help promote sustainable practices. It can help get educators involved as well to help guide them to teach their students about water issues. And again, there you can also do adopt a drain or cleanup events, which can bring actual local residents into helping with these efforts, which again helps build communities that are more informed, and helps engage with communities that are members that are actually willing to work to go to cleanup events and again help out with help the utility meet their clean water goals. And public meetings or open houses, that's again that's something that you can easily host. It brings people in. It helps allow community members to ask questions, and it just helps provide transparency around what kind of projects that are being planned, as well as why certain rates are increasing. Going to hosting meetings like this is a great way to again interact with your community members. And community engagement can also improve collaborative engagement and again long-term planning as well, by bringing community members and stakeholders into the decision-making process. So developing community advisory committees, which can be made up of residents, business owners, or local leaders, can offer input on equity, why their inputs on rates, as well as their infrastructure priorities. Focus groups or surveys similarly can help utilities gather diverse perspective before making major policy or rate changes. Asking community members of what their priorities are, whether it's making sure the sewer is free, the streets are free of sewer, or helping protect local water bodies that can help prioritize those kind of specific projects. Partnerships with schools and technical programs can also promote wastewater careers through help doing plant tours, job shadowing, as well as operator talks, can again help build the next generation of utility workforce. Participatory planning, again, or similarly, invites residents to help identify infrastructure needs. You can have them involved to review project options, which can ensure that investments are reflecting community priorities. And targeted outreach engagement with underserved communities, underserved neighborhoods can really help identify the barriers to access for those community members and help improve equity in wastewater services across your community. So together, these strategies can help build trust, foster stewardship, and again, helps ensure that utility planning reflects the need and values of the entire community. So what are some of the best practices to develop a successful public engagement program? Understanding your audience is key. Use plain language if you're speaking to community members, to avoid any kind of confusion. So technical terms like even biosolids can be replaced with something more relatable, like nutrient-rich sewer products or recycled wastewater. When people understand what you're saying, they're more likely to engage and support the work that you're doing, where technical jargon can really hinder that. It's also important to be proactive. So sharing information before major changes like rate adjustments or proposed maintenance can help build transparency and trust. Waiting until the last minute before a change happens can lead to confusion or frustration if community members aren't informed. Consistency also matters. A single post or bill insert might be missed or forgotten easily, so it's important to keep messages steady and clear across multiple channels. Repetition helps reinforce key points and helps reach different segments of the community. Engagement should also be a two-way conversation. Tools like surveys, social media, public meeting, or advisory groups can allow residents to share their thoughts and helps them feel heard. So when people see their inputs or their voices are being reflected in the decision, again, it helps build that trust and or even ownership within the community members themselves. And not just the community themselves, but also empowering your own team is another valuable strategy. Operators, field crews, and even customer service staff, like the people that are doing the billing, they're often the public face of the utility. So giving them simple talking points and confidence to answer basic questions like, hey, what project is currently going on? Why are my rates increasing? Help making sure that these guys can actually answer those questions helps, again, build trust with the community members and the people that are actually doing the work. And don't forget to tell your story. Photos, short videos can really highlight your staff, as well as the work that they do. If you have some projects going on, social media posts of like a video of people, those hardworking wastewater operators working out in the field can really boost the utilities' reliability, as well as, again, being more transparent about the work that these guys are doing and making sure that they're actually being appreciated. And finally, measuring success. So tracking things like clog reports or pump run times to see whether outreach campaigns like no wipe or fog education is actually working can help assess whether certain engagement strategies are working or whether a different method or improvement is needed. Now, community engagement can be easy to implement if utilities do have the staff and the capacity to support, those efforts. But for smaller systems or for utilities with less resources, community engagement can, easily be a lower priority things. Some of the common challenges that we hear from operators is, there's a lack of time or staff. Many operators are stretched thin, they're busy. Engagement isn't really on their priority list. But it doesn't have to be overwhelming. You can start small, just a single social media post a week, or even like a single flyer at a local business can really, start making an impact on your, or it can make a meaningful impact. Um, Another issue is, if you have a limited budget, you don't have anything in your budget to be able to like print material to share with your communities. But social media is free. You don't necessarily have to pay money for it. It doesn't cost that much. And a website is usually paid for already by your municipality, so you can use your website as a means to communicate with your communities. Even partnering with other city departments like Public Works or Parks, you can help share costs and expand the community outreach. If you guys want to do like a joint campaign on sharing printed material within your communities or to distribute those material. And some utilities might feel like we're operators, we're not PR people, but that's fine. You don't need to be you don't need a communication department to engage the public. If you can find someone on staff who enjoys using social media, and kind of train them, empower them to be your PR person. There are a lot of free templates and information out there that can help, like from organizations like EPA and WEF, which again can help start making PR an easier task for your operators to do. And if the management isn't on board, try to reframe the conversation, speak their language, talk about risk reduction and cost savings. For example, like a $500 fog campaign can prevent thousands of dollars in emergency sewer backups, which can promote the adoption of more community engagement programs or funding towards it. And finally, the huge issue is public apathy. If the residents doesn't care about what the utility does, it's really going to be hard to get their support. So engagement should be relevant to the community. Utilities should relate their work to things people care about, protecting their homes, keeping the streets sewer free, and again, making sure that they know how their rates are being used to protect public health and environmental protection. And with social media, allowing massive amount of information to be readily available these days, I did want to voice some concerns related to disinformation or misinformation, which can negatively impact how utilities are viewed. So, with the rise of social media and AI-generated content, false or misleading claims can spread pretty quickly like wildfire, which can damage public trust very easily. We've seen misleading posts about, accusing utilities of wasting money on unnecessary projects, sparking backlash against needed capital improvements. There's also been false claims that sewage overflows are intentional, or that untreated wastewater is being dumped into rivers or drinking water sources. This was a huge one in the West Coast recently, where there was a lot of rumor going on, but it was just that one of the bigger wastewater treatment plants was discharging into the bay, or the San Francisco Bay, I believe. But that's standard practice. It's being treated, but disinformation like that can really have an impact and make people distrust the utility themselves. And certain social media campaigns often suggest race hikes are excessive or unjustified. There are community groups that are doing that, making sure that some certain projects aren't being implemented because of cost issues, which can really hinder those projects where infrastructure projects that are really needed, or even projects to help meet regulatory requirements. So again, proactive engagement is your best defense. Build that trust early on. Share updates about maintenance, upgrades, and challenges before problems become an issue. If people hear from you regularly, they're less likely to believe people speaking, rumors online. Be the official voice. Make sure your website, social media, and press releases are the go-to sources for accurate information. The main thing is that if the information isn't coming from you, it's not official. That's the word that you kind of want to get across your communities. Also help the public understand, the why a pump runs at night, why your street is torn up, or why you're raising rates. Just you have to be transparent. When people understand the reasons behind the work that you're doing, again, they're more likely to support it. AWWA has a guide on this called Trending in an Instant, a risk communication guide for water utilities. which is linked below. It's a guide that includes strategies for managing communication during crises and high-risk situations, helping utilities stay ahead of misinformation and helps maintain public trust. It helps answer a question like how do we react to negative social media publicity, and it also does include various case studies from utilities or communication, highlighting communication challenges and how they responded to emergencies. So it's definitely a good guide that it's worth checking out, and it's relevant for both water and wastewater utilities. And speaking of case studies, I briefly did want to highlight a real-world example of a successful community engagement program from the Orange County Water District in California. So this is a big project so Southern California is well known for having water supply challenges. They often have to bring water in from very far away reservoirs, and that can even be out of state. So to address this issue, Orange County Water District and their Orange County Sanitation District, they work together to develop the groundwater replenishment system, which is currently the world's, I believe, largest wastewater or water purification reuse facility for indirect potable reuse. But the system's designed to treat wastewater enough to be potable, then injected into their local aquifers to help secure a drought-proof, locally controlled water supply to reduce, again, dependence on imported water. But in order to get the public support for this project and not have the project fail like a lot of the water reuse project did in the 90s, Orange County Water District, they launched a comprehensive joint outreach campaign with the sanitation district, creating educational videos, presenting at, I believe, over 2,000 schools and community meetings, and offering public tours of their pilot facilities. Even these tours, they can allow residents, media, and stakeholders to see, the whole advanced treatment process. And there's even a part at the very end where they can actually taste the purified water. It is actually potable. They use it for indirect potable usage, but it is treated enough to be potable. And highlighting this can really help build trust and help reduce the stigma of like, oh, I don't want to drink treated wastewater because it's wastewater. The water district, they're also very careful with their messaging that they use. So instead of using terms like toilet tap, they emphasize terms like water purification or drought-proof supply, something that's less has less of that yuck factor, and highlights the environmental benefits of these kind of water reuse facilities. And they actively engage with local media, elected officials, community leaders through press releases, public meetings, educational campaigns, and it turned out to be a successful program. And they're still managing their facility today. So this example shows how proactive, transparent, and inclusive engagement can turn skepticism into support, even for these innovative wastewater solutions. But it's a really great example, and there's a link to the bottom to which EPA has highlighting their efforts of the project itself. So that's like a basic overview of community engagement in general. I'm sure there's some stuff I missed as well, but again, definitely check online. There are a lot of resources out there. But now I'll go over a number of public available resources that can help expand on some of the previous information I highlighted, and some information that you might be able to use today to develop an effective community outreach program. So starting off, here are two resources that are more geared towards practical guidance for engaging with communities, specifically wastewater projects. The first one's from the University of Minnesota Extension. It's a 2-page fact sheet on communicating with smaller or rural communities. It kind of provides a straightforward list of strategies for keeping residents informed and involved throughout wastewater projects. And this is focused more on smaller rural systems or communities, so it doesn't really mention social media. It's more like in-person stuff, like going to community centers, going to doing physical newsletters, providing mailbox stuffers, door hangers, even like paper surveys. But again, these are strategies that are probably more successful within these smaller communities. But it highlights all the information. And the second resource I've listed here is the 10-page guide on educating and engaging the public on wastewater treatment from the Syracuse University Environmental Finance Center network, which again it's a little bit more comprehensive. It offers a deeper dive into public education around wastewater treatment, what you should be talking about. It covers how to explain operations, financing, and how to explain the environmental benefits in a way that it resonates with the public. And it recommends using tools like similarly bill stuffers, newsletters, meetings, plant tours, surveys, and it kind of highlights those different methodologies as well. And the guide also provides messaging tips like what to talk about, how to work with the media to help utilities again manage public image as well as promote water conservation and source water protection. And if you're looking for specific information to teach students like in a classroom settings, New England Water Environment Association, they have a school kit which includes a collection of prepackaged presentation materials for outreach to kindergarten to 12th grade or grade 12. It includes customizable PowerPoint presentations, that's as well as graphics, as well as classroom planning material that can help, again, educate students about stormwater as well as wastewater and water conservation. University of Michigan Center of Sustainable System also features various videos on how wastewater collection works, how it's treated, which can, again, be used in those classroom settings to teach and engage students about these the work that wastewater operators do. Now focusing on community engagement for specific topics. After doing a lot of research, I found out that there's a lot of community engagement resources aimed at source control. So prevention of harmful materials from getting into your sewer system to prevent water quality issues or operational issues. Here are several resources related to helping with that efforts. Georgia Association of Water Professionals, they have two resources I wanted to highlight. The first is a more comprehensive 356-page wastewater collection system-based management practice guide. It's a comprehensive guide for maintaining safe, effective, and compliant wastewater collection systems, but it does include a section on detailed strategies for residential source control, especially around fog, and their public education program section highlights, including distributing brochures like fat-free sewers at community events, including public service announcements in local media about fog issues, mailing info to apartment complexes where a lot more fog issues can happen due to the number of residents there, and placing fog door hangers in problem areas like near areas where there's a lot more restaurant activity, where a lot more fog can be entering your sewer system. And for commercial source control, that again, similar to that, it does outline outreach strategies for, again, food service establishment, how they can improve grease management and compliance. GAWP, they also offer a public education resource library, which includes ready-to-use outreach materials. So, for example, they have a one-page fog flyer, again, that can be printed and distributed to educate residents on proper disposal practices. And they also have a 4-page lesson plan that introduces students to problem caused by fog and sewer systems, and how you can encourage better habits from a younger age. The page also includes video tours of water and wastewater systems, handouts for promoting water careers, instructions on how to implement green infrastructure, and just a lot of great information that can be used to share to your community members. And looking at these materials, it can really guide utilities on what materials they should be featuring on their website, as well as gain some inspiration on developing similar resources themselves. Here are two additional resources that provide the same guidance, or some guidance on educating communities about fog and wastewater systems. Clemson University, they have a 18-page strategic education plan intended for the utilities themselves that outlines a 5-year community-based approach to reduce fog pollution. So the plan, it's very simple to kind of read, but it has tables that outline, what they should be doing, what utilities should be doing for both residents and restaurants to reduce issues with fog, and encourages utilities to collaborate those local partners like schools, homeowner associations, and media to help get the word out. The guide also helps develop a message on proper disposal of fog, how to distribute that message, and action items that can guide utilities into prioritizing certain strategies, depending on if you're reaching out to residential or commercial. Or if your end goal is to reach out to either residential communities or commercials like restaurants. The guide also recommends tracking outreach success through measurable indicators like, for fog, whether fog collection volumes and observed behavior changes are having some impact due to these initiatives. EPA also has a What We Know After 23 Years of Fog Work webinar, which offers additional insight into fog program development. It highlights the importance of residential education using tools like door hangers or even school video competitions to help students develop YouTube videos highlighting the issue of fog disposal, which again can educate students as well as can be repurposed within the utility's own public engagement campaign. If you have local students highlighting the issue of fog, you probably might have local residents might be willing to listen to that more and help adopt those best practices. So there's plenty of fog-related resources out there, but these are just a few that can help wastewater utilities build or enhance their fog control outreach program. Now moving on to source control strategies. Many wastewater utilities are troubled with the issue of flushable wipes that aren't actually flushable. So when flushed, these can eventually lead to clogged sewers. I found the Only Flush the Three Ps, which is a website that has a lot of simple resources that can be shared to provide or help provide outreach on what can be flushed and how improper disposal of fog and wipes can lead to sewer clogs as well as overflows. We've all heard the terms like fatbergs, where images alone are enough to send powerful messages to the community. The website offers videos, graphics, and outreach materials that utilities can use in schools, community events, or social media campaigns. One standout resource is the Ruins Everything video. It's a 4-minute video, but it uses humor to explain why flushable wipes aren't actually flushable and how they cause costly damage to the sewer system. It's especially effective for engaging younger audiences. This is a fairly popular series. This video itself has over 5 million views. And it's just a great way to, again, help connect with, help reach the young professionals about the issues of wipes, unflushable wipes. There's also another video from The Guardian Australia where they demonstrate how wet wipes don't break down in water and how they've led to issues within causing sewer clog overflows and as well as clogs. It uses a lot of disgusting imagery, which again can have a huge impact on community members themselves. Another key topic in source control is household hazardous waste. EPA has a website where they outline common hazardous items like paints, cleaners, batteries, pesticides, and provide the guidance on safe use and disposal. It's rare, but people do sometimes dispose these through the sewer system, and utilities can really use this information to develop household hazardous waste education and proper disposal programs. So to reduce these kind of waste coming in from into your sewer system. And it helps educate the residents about best practices and how what kind of impacts these can have on stormwater as well as sewer systems. Unwanted and unused medication can also fall under hazardous waste, and as improper disposal can be hazardous to the environment as well as public health, especially during storm events like floods. Flush medication can eventually end up in source water or local water bodies that might be sensitive and can really have an impact on public health. So it's really crucial for residents to understand the proper medication disposal practices. EPA has a dedicated webpage on what to do about unwanted household medicine, like using drug take-back days, as well as using pharmacy kiosks and mail-back envelopes to help residents understand proper medication disposal so it doesn't end up in your sewer systems. The FDA also offers a dedicated webpage on disposal options. Again, they recommend drug take-back programs, but they also have a short video, animated video, which can be distributed through social media, highlighting the issues of disposing unused medication down the drain and how to best properly dispose them. So again, helps educate the public about pharmaceuticals and proper way to dispose them, preventing them from getting into your sewer system and potentially impacting your wastewater treatment processes. Here are 2 great examples of public outreach materials that utilities can use to use as a model for their own communication efforts. First, the What Not to Flush webpage from the Metropolitan Sewer District of Greater Cincinnati. They provide a clear, comprehensive list of household items that should never go down to the drain. It explains, how wipes, fogs can potentially impact your sewer system. They have a lot of cute graphics that you can print out and also use as a flyer, share to your community members, but it can be also used as social media graphics as well. It's just a great web page to model after to, again, have an area where community members can go to on your website and understand, oh, this is the stuff that I should not be flushing down into the sewer. UC Berkeley's Sewer Overflow Protection Awareness webpage also outlines several common causes of sewer backups, and they have a lot of great materials like flyers, fact sheets that they could be printed out in multiple languages and can be used to be distributed to your community members about issues of sewer overflows and, again, what not to flush down your toilet. Now, another issue that impacts wastewater treatment performance is I&I, influent infiltration. So these wet weather flows can get into your sewer system through leaking pipes. It can overburden your system, but a lot of community members don't really understand that. So the next 2 resources listed here can help address those issues to your community members. The first is the DRIPS communication toolkit from the Madison Metropolitan Sewage District. They offer a comprehensive list of customizable outreach materials like flyers, blog articles, social media graphics, all designed to help utilities understand, issues about I&I, private sewer lateral maintenance, and proper sump pump connections. So it's really designed to help community members understand the issues with these and help make them make them be part of the solution for reducing I&I issues. Educating homeowners can really help them. They can call their plumbers. They can try to actively seek to find these issues. If they know to look if they have pipes near areas where there's a lot of trees or shrubbery, if they know that roots can potentially cause inflow intrusion, that might help them actually go to their property, check to see if this is an issue that exists on their property. The second resource listed on here is the Tools for Property Owners webpage from the Metropolitan Council. Similarly, they provide a lot of educational materials, flyers, videos, explain the I&I issues. Again, helps residents understand what to inspect, how to repair sewer laterals, and disconnecting improper connections if they find any. And again, understanding their role in protecting this community infrastructure. The next few slides will focus on it's more aimed towards educating communities on proper stormwater management. So if a utility has an MS4 permit, as part of that, they're required to educate their public on keeping pollutants out of their storm systems. These can help utilities better engage with their communities. So the first one is the National Menu of Best Management Practices for Stormwater. It's a series of EPA web pages. They link a bunch of fact sheets. Especially they have a public education specific areas webpage where they have resources to help educate residents about stormwater discharges. It includes homeowner education material that guides homeowners on preventing sewer contamination from stormwater issues, and helps educate them on green infrastructure and how that can reduce the burden on stormwater infrastructure. The second resource is the 13-page public outreach for integrated wastewater stormwater planning guide from EPA. It's more of a comprehensive guide on developing integrated plans for stormwater and wastewater. It encourages communities to work with stakeholders to identify and evaluate solutions to meet Clean Water Act requirements. But it details the importance of this framework, which includes building public buy-in for new or required infrastructure investments. And if you follow the guide strategies, utilities can proactively identify those community issues, what are the priorities of the communities, and help get that their needs integrated into that whole planning process. Now that we've covered resources to plan community engagement on stormwater management, what exactly outreach materials are out there to that municipalities can actually use to share this information with their communities. EPA does have a stormwater smart outreach tools, which is a webpage that has a lot of customizable material designed to raise public awareness about stormwater impacts, like brochures, infographics, fact sheets, social media graphics again, and best practices that community members can implement to help maintain or even invest in stormwater infrastructure. Again, they have materials in both English and Spanish, but again, it can help, and it can be tailored to a specific municipality. But again, the toolkit can help utilities share this information about stormwater issues and how residents can help out with, again, implementing stuff like green infrastructure, looking for areas where there might be overflow or blockages. Again, that can help collaborate between the community and the utility themselves. WEF also has a stormwater education campaign material webpage where they include a lot of professionally designed outreach materials that can help residents change their behaviors that might contribute to polluted runoff, like improper disposal of pet waste, garden chemicals, and other actionable tips that residents can implement themselves. And they also have materials in different formats, like bill stuffers, full page infographics, or even trifold brochures that can be shared with your outreach with your communities. Since we mentioned stormwater, here are community engagement resource aimed at controlling CSO and sanitary sewer overflow as well. New Jersey has several organizations, including the Sewage Free Streets and Rivers resource page. It's a New Jersey-based organization aimed at preventing CSO issues but they have a lot of great outreach materials like brochures that can be shared with communities, highlighting the issues with CSOs and how they can help to prevent those issues. And New Jersey DEP, they also have a guide on best practices for CSO public engagement, where it teaches you how to effectively engage with affected communities, building CSO supplemental teams or designated as staff as a long-term control plan outreach coordinator can really help residents understand who they should go to if they have CSO issues, and who has all the information that can help the residents understand why this is a big issue. And to address sanitary sewer flows, there weren't that many information I was able to find, but Florida DPS, they had a flyer that can be shared with their residents that highlights the common causes of SSOs, practical steps that residents can take to reduce sewer system stress, like, again, proper disposal of fog, minimizing water use during storms, and all the steps that utilities can follow to prevent that sanitary sewer overflow or influent infiltration issues. Now moving on to different topics, let's look at resources that can help improve public engagement around sewer rates and project planning. The Pacific Institute has a 5-page guide on communicating water rates and educating about water rates, but it highlights the how early proactive and transparent communication can help communities understand the value of the water service they provide and why certain rates might need to be increased, why it's being increased, maybe there's a project, and how that project can benefit the community themselves. The guide outlines how you can navigate messaging around that. And the city of Rockaway Beach, Florida, they actually have a great flyer on, what are sewer rates and why do they matter, which can be modeled and again distributed to customers to help them understand what's in their sewer rates, why rates might be increasing, and how these projects might be helping improve the local wastewater infrastructure. I also want to mention that Water Research Foundation has a rate communication toolkit, which offers a structured 10-step process for developing a long-term communication plan. It's a really great guide, and it helps the utility identify, what their community values are, how to develop concise messaging around those values, and it provides guidance on creating language and messaging to help with, storytelling, as well as building trust over time about that can lead to improved support in rate approvals or rate setting. But if you go to Wastewater Research Foundation's website, you do need a membership to be able to access this information, this guide itself, but the International City County Management Association does have a publicly accessible version on their website, which is on the very bottom link on this site, on this slide. I definitely recommend checking out this guide because it's a really good guide. EPA also has a guide on, which is in the form of a 32-slide presentation, which was originally presented by Washington State University EFC on setting rates, what's appropriate, and how to communicate with customers. And it outlines key principles for rate settings, as well as do's and don'ts for engaging with customers, such as avoiding, again, using technical jargon, using relatable language, and making sure that communities are aware early on about why rates might be increasing. And for a more in-depth look at rate setting, RCAP has a 64-page guide called Formulate Great Rates, which walks utility through the full process of evaluating and adjusting water and wastewater rates, especially with they really focus on community engagement as this process. So each section does have a portion on, while going up through setting rates, how to communicate that with your community members, how to start planning, communicating about potential rate increases. And if you have any issues with setting rates or need guidance, RCAP has a lot of technical assistance providers throughout the country that are willing to work with utilities. So definitely, I recommend reaching out to your regions, our RCAP region, which can help you set rates, even go through a process of doing that, as well as using their taps to reach out to community members. If you don't really have a community outreach program, those taps might have some prior experience working with those communities, can really help get your voice across to them. And RCAP also has another guidance for project planning as well, for developing planning capital improvement projects, similar to the rate setting guide. They also heavily focus on public participation and each of their steps for planning projects. They mentioned how to go about educating the community as well as coordinating with the community. EPA also has a Making the Right Choices for Utility toolkit, which it's a toolkit designed to develop capital improvement plan based on community's priorities, and it's a great worksheet that helps utilities identify what their community's priorities are and to develop a capital improvement plan around those priorities. So again, these resources can really help plan for smarter projects, communicate project plans better, and again, build infrastructure that serve your communities. Here are two additional community engagement resources that helps with planning, project planning. The first is a 10-page guide from the state of Oregon, which it's titled 10 Best Practices in Community Engagement Around Water Projects. Again, it's really intended to educate, give you the best practices for communicating to the public around building or planning capital improvement projects. And it also includes examples, case studies that can be applied within your community engagement plan with projects. And RCAC, which is one of the RCAP regions, they also have a 10-page guide titled Gaining Public Support for Projects. The guide, they focus on a 10-step full life cycle approach to water and wastewater planning, emphasizing the importance of informing and including the public from the very beginning. So it really focuses on community engagement as well, highlights the do's and don'ts of what to say to community members when you're planning projects. Now moving on to a different project. I know I'm running out of time, so I'm going to probably try to go through these really quickly, but biosolids, that's a huge issue where, again, communication is really key to get those programs going. WEF has a biosolids communication toolkit. Similarly, NACWA, which is the National Association of Clean Water Agencies, they have a toolkit for promoting biosolids usage. It's really meant for utilities to, again, help share the benefits of biosolids, how it benefits the environment as well as local groups like farmers, and how best to get the public support and for biosolid land application, as well as promoting that biosolid it's safe to use and it's not necessarily dangerous to the environment. And here are two additional community engagement resources. One is on social media and one is on creating public relations with the media. So, if you don't have experience with social media, the very top guide from EPA, the 12-page guide on setting up a social media program. It provides a step-by-step guidance on, how to use a platform like Facebook and Twitter, how to schedule around planning posts, what kind of posts you should be sharing with your communities to, again, help build engagement and help build trust with, help build the collaboration as well as trust within your community members. And the second resource is the Media and Public Relations Guide from the Maine Water Utilities Association. It's a 57-page guide, but it highlights, how utilities can strategically communicate with the media, how to share crisis response issues or guidance, as well as help build the utilities brand through media and public relations. So it's a great tool for if you're new to PR. This might be a resource that would be able to help you understand what to do, as well as how to develop a good social media program. And finally, I did want to mention these two webinars from EFCN. One is titled Navigating Wastewater Messaging, Creating a Communications Campaign to Influence Your Audience. It's a 15-minute webinar, but it helps you develop wastewater messaging around what your target audience is. Developing personas, like if you're speaking to the younger children or younger generation, using I know it sounds cringy, but using memes can really help get your voice across to them. Or if you're speaking to an older community, you might want to use a tone like a 50-year-old farmer would to try to relate to them and make sure that you're using language that they would understand. And the second webinar I have here is Imagine a Day Without the Water Workforce. So this webinar really highlights guides utilities on how to best highlight the workforce, how to highlight the wastewater operators that are doing the great work that they do, as well as help to get the younger generation interested in the water and wastewater industry, potentially getting into that workforce. So these are some of the resources that I wanted to highlight today. There's a lot more resource that I can go over that I didn't go over today, like water reuse, even like how to start a plan toward, but we do have information like that as well as additional public accessible information on wateropera.org if you're interested in looking for that. But if you want more information specifically, definitely email me, reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to find you information that you're looking for. So before I quickly end, I'm going to go on and do the demo portion of our website. So wateropera.org, this is their front page. It's fairly simple website. All the menu bar is at the very top where you can find and access all of our tools. So starting off with a demo of the resource library, to access that page, you want to look at the resource library menu at the top. And if you hover your cursor over that, it will open up a new collapse menu, which shows an option for search for documents or document search. If you click on any of that, it will take you to our resource library page. There's 3 components that you can interact with. There's a drop-down menu on the left side. There's a keyword filter text box and the retrieve documents button. But if you expand on the drop-down option, it will give you 4 filters or menus or filters that you can interact with. One is on category, which are the 30+ water and wastewater categories I showed earlier in the pie chart. We also have type, which is for searching for specific document types. So if you just want a fact sheet or manual, you can choose that. If you want a video, that's also a category, a resource type that you can search specifically. The third is the state filter. So if you want to look for resources from a specific state, maybe case studies for a certain state, you can search for using this state filter. Or if you're looking for material from a specific state agency, you might use the state filter. And the last one is host. So if you're looking for certain resources from certain organizations, like if you know you're looking for material from EPA, you can choose host EPA and it'll just give you EPA resources. So since this presentation was focused on community engagement, we can try searching for a resource related to this topic, in which case we can use one of the category filters, consumer information. So to be able to find that, you want to go ahead and click on the dropdown, choose category, and then when you do, it will open up a second drop-down menu at the very bottom, and then it will show you the 30+ water and wastewater related categories. And if you start scrolling, you'll see consumer information is one of them. And if you click on it and click on retrieve documents, it will give you the results on the bottom of the search module. And just for consumer information, we have over 1,000 documents. That's way too much to go through. Now, if you know it's at the very top, you will see that there's a second drop-down option available, and where you can add another filter to refine your search even more. So let's say if you wanted to search for community engagement resources from EPA, in which case we can go ahead and choose the second drop-down menu. Now we can choose host as one of the filters, and we can choose US EPA from that list, similar to how we did with the category. And if you click on retrieve documents again, it'll refine your search even more. Now, if you start going through this, how would you figure out what resource do you actually want to click on? We do provide a summary of the resource. Try to make it in-depth, but highlight why it's relevant for operators and how it's useful for operators. We also include a link to the resource. So if you click on the title, it'll take you immediately to the document itself, hosted by the host organization. And we also have a repository link as well, which is the page where we found the resource. So if you're looking for a similar resource, or if that link turns out to be dead, you can potentially click on the repository link to find that more information related to that topic. Now, if you start going through the list and you find a document that sounds interesting, like just communicating the value of drinking water services, which would fit today's theme of community engagement, even though it's more drinking water focused, you can click on the title, it'll open a pop-up, and you will see the document on that pop-up. So, and I do want to note that links can go dead. So if you come across a dead link, or if you're really interested in that document, definitely reach out to us. We'll try to help you find an archive of it, or we'll try to help you find a similar resource that covers similar topics. And just to demo the keyword search, since community engagement is a term that you can search itself, or if you're looking for something more specific like rate communication, that is a keyword that you can use without any of the filters. And if you just use a search using rate communication, you can see that there's just some search results. It just really narrows your search even better. If you start looking through this, you can see some of the rate communication toolkit from the Water Research Foundation, as well as some of the a webinar presentation from EFCN, and just other great information, again, open access information that can help you understand how to communicate rates. And as mentioned earlier, we do have a nationwide events calendar page as well, where we list every single training that offers to use for operators. To find that event calendar, again, back on the homepage, there's an event calendar menu at the very top. If you click on it, it'll take you to this empty calendar module with a search module similar to the one with the documents library. So you see that select drop-down menu as well as a keyboard and an empty calendar on the bottom. Same filters as the document side. We do have categories, which is 30+ water and wastewater categories. Type, this will be a little bit different, since instead of resource type, this will be event type. So it'll show you in-person trainings, conferences, webinars, different types of training formats. State will be the state where the training takes place in, or where CEUs are approved in. And sponsor would be the host or the organization actually hosting the event. So for this example, since we're based out of Illinois, and a lot of operators, they just use the state filter since they just care about what trainings are approved in their state. If you choose Illinois as a state, you can say that it populates the calendar. And some of the event names you can see the full name of, but some of them are just the acronyms of the organization hosting it. It just if there's more than 3 events in a day, it just shortens the name so to reduce cluttering. But you can also add additional filters to refine your search more, or you can also click on the view list option on the right side, which will open up a pop-up with showing in a list format rather than a calendar format, so you can see all the trainings in a single page. And I have one event here with an arrow next to it, which is Illinois Section AWWA's Leadership Series, Navigating Difficult Conversations. So this will be, again, a training that might fit today's theme of community engagement. If you're interested on this, you can click on the event name. It will open up a pop-up showing you additional details. Again, start date, where to register, contact information if you have a question, how much it costs, as well as the CEUs and what states they're approved in. So again, this can help you identify whether this is a training that you might be interested in. So quickly, that was very quick, but that concludes the demo for the calendar and resource library tool. Again, if you have any trouble finding certain information, feel free to reach out to us. We'll help you find the information that you'll be looking for, and we're more than happy to assist you. Very quickly, just additional information they can find on our website. We do have a blog page where we try to post at least monthly about what's happening in the industry, some information like highlighting resource documents that we recently added to our resource library, and we also focus on certain topics. So we also have a public education blog post section where we try to highlight blog posts relevant to more information, more relevant to maintaining public relations, engaging the customer, educating them, while highlighting, referencing resources that we've added to our library. We also have 3 newsletters that we send out monthly or biweekly electronically. One is our most famous biweekly water operator or just standard operator newsletter, where we highlight upcoming events, news, funding opportunities that's relevant for operators, as well as recent documents again that we added to our library. We also have a innovations newsletter where we highlight upcoming research opportunities, research like pilot studies, results of like certain innovative treatment technologies, again to educate more researchers as well as operators that are more interested in learning about what's happening in the tech industry related to water and wastewater today. And we also have a tribal newsletter where we focus more on tribal topics. If water and wastewater news that affects tribal communities, funding opportunities specific to tribal operators, as well as trainings for tribal utility members. And finally, I did want to touch on the self-paced classes that we do offer. So our groundwater and well care class is our most popular class. It's free online, it's self-paced, and helps operators better understand how to maintain and take care of their groundwater well. But it's approved for training credit hours in various states, including Illinois. And we also have 2 self-paced training, which we developed for Mass DEP in collaboration with University of Massachusetts Amherst on cybersecurity and source water protection. But these are all free, and we've gotten great feedback from some of the state agencies that have taken this course, wanting to adopt it for their state as well. So, if you're interested in learning about cybersecurity or source water protection, these are great classes that you can take for free. So that concludes my presentation for today. Again, if you get a chance to use wateroperator.org and run into any questions, feel free to contact me or my supervisor, Steve Wilson. Our emails and phone numbers are listed here. Or if you scroll down to the bottom of our website, you can also find our contact, our general info at wateroperator.org email address as well. And if you'd like a copy of this presentation, since I referenced a lot of links and resources, email me. I'll be more than happy to give you a copy of this presentation so you can actually check out the resources that were highlighted today. But yeah, if you just email me or Steve, we can get that information to you as well. And again, if you need a certificate, again, definitely email us or let us know that you're looking for one, and we can get you those issued once this webinar concludes. So at this time, I'd like to answer any kind of questions if there are any. Caitlin, do we have any questions in the chat?
Nope, you've answered any questions that were there, so I think we're good.
Awesome. Well, I know we're kind of over time, so if you have any questions that you might think of later, again, feel free to email me. Anything specific to the resource we covered today or the topic about community engagement, I'll be more than happy to talk to you, or again, connect you with people that we know, partners that will be able to assist you directly or help you answer some of the more technical questions. So thank you for your time. I hope everyone has a nice rest of the day, and looking forward to hearing back from you all. All right, have a good one, everyone.